Another thing you can do that's highly effective is what's called a sense meditation. Okay, and what we start with, or what I like to start with, because it's our our dominant sense for most people, is vision. It's what's referred to as owl eyes. Okay, and so what we do is we want to stand as we step outside and gaze straight ahead, open our eyes really wide, and expand our vision to our full view. Okay, catching everything on the periphery all around us. We actually can see out 180 degrees both to the left and right, almost, and almost not quite as much above and below us, but close to it. Okay, almost like a hemisphere, if you want to think of everything around us as a sphere. And so we want to just pay attention to that and just sit with that for a second and see all the vision we can take in. Okay, including or especially any sort of details and movement on the periphery. Okay, our vision, it's not as good as some other animals like hawks, but it actually is really good in terms of looking straight ahead. The periphery, it's not as detailed, but again, we can catch movement. And we actually just kind of focus on a spot in the distance, but also at the same time, while we're focusing, we can take in this information. It's really amazing what you can see, and that's just a good way to calibrate your vision. And then I like to move from there to something called deer ears, okay? And this is where instead of maybe thinking of hearing being passive, which is what we commonly do in our society, think of it actively where you send it out, like in every direction, okay? And unlike our vision, our hearing really does go in all directions, okay? Like in a sphere all the way around us. So imagine just what you can send it out and then take back in, both in front of you and behind you, to the left, to the right, okay? And then try to pick out first, all the sounds generally speaking, but then try to differentiate really faint sounds, and particularly faint sounds in the distance. What can you pick out and distinguish from other sounds? Obviously, that's easier when it's very silent versus there's a lot of activity, but this is really useful. And the other thing you can do is just kind of slowly turn your head to the left or the right, because with our hearing, we can very easily differentiate what's to the left of us and to the right of us. It actually is hard to differentiate in many cases what's in front of us or behind us. And that's why owls actually have their ears they're not symmetrical. They're in different locations on their head, the left and the right. So if you turn to the left or the right, you can actually pick that up as well, and really differentiate what's in front and what's behind you. Then you can do something called dog nose, okay? And again, dogs have a very good sense of smell, just like deer have an excellent sense of hearing, and owls have an excellent vision, tremendous vision. Um, Dogs have this great sense of smell. They have, so many receptors, particularly certain species, and I really should just say canines in general. Um, and so they smell a lot better than we do, and we can't get to their level, but what we can do is just stop and inhale very deeply through our nose, okay? Take a deep breath in, and then kind of notice every nuance of odor that we can pick up or flavor, okay? And then actually once we do that, we can try to discern the intensity of that odor and maybe the direction it's coming from, the wind. Again, other animals are much better than humans are. We do not have a well-developed sense of smell. Myself in particular, my wife actually has a really good sense of smell. I don't so much. But still, even so, we can pick up on a number of smells. And so just helps calibrate and level set us. And then finally, you can do something called salamander skin. And salamanders have a really sensitive, basically, detection on their skin, like a lot of amphibians do, which is why they're so sensitive to contaminants in the environment. And so you can imagine like you're an amphibian, like a salamander, and you've got this moist skin, and you can feel the wind. What direction is it coming from? What's the temperature? Does it feel clammy? Is it hot? Is it dry? Is it really cold? What's the humidity like? Is it high humidity? Do you feel any changes in the weather that's coming in if you do this for a few moments? And again, you can do this periodically in your time outside. It's good to recalibrate on occasion because it's just natural for us, particularly in the modern world, to kind of again disengage from our senses. So you can periodically go back to all four of these.